Monsoon.
Welcome to the Monsoon.
Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Atomic Monsoon.
And please, welcome, join us, have a seat, grab some cocoa, enjoy yourself. Stay for a while.
Hey, how's it going, Stephanie?
It's going pretty good. How about you, Andy?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Trying to get used to my new life of never leaving the house and making sure I still drink enough water. But otherwise, I'm doing okay.
I get that. I totally understand.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Just, nothing really has changed all that much. So.
Sure, yeah.
At home, working, stuff.
Yep.
So.
That's story of a lot of people's lives right now.
Indeed.
It is May 8th, 2020 for those of you listening in the future. So, stuff happened in the world and we're all stuck at home still. So It's good times.
Doesn't our episode air on May 10th normally?
Yeah. Our episodes air on Sundays, but we record them on Fridays usually. So, yeah.
Happy Mother's Day, then, if you're listening on Mother's Day.
Hey, that's true. Happy Mother's Day. Also, earlier this week was my mom's birthday. So, Mom, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Andy's mom. And my brother, so this is the week of birthdays, especially in my family.
Oh, yeah?
Because my brother's birthday is actually on Mother's Day this year, and then my grandmother's birthday is the day immediately after.
Haha.
So sometimes their birthday is on Mother's Day or before Mother's Day, like by like a day or like the next day or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Immediately after, and it's just like this is like a triple whammy in my family all the time.
Well, happy birthday to your brother and your grandma.
Oh, thanks.
Also, this week is the birthday of one of the members of the Def M Records All-Stars, who provided our excellent intro music. So,
oh my God, guys! Happy birthday!
Yeah, happy birthday to you, and everyone go check out defmrecords.com and find yourself some new music. This week, I actually bought a couple of albums from Def M Records, and I thought I would mention that on the show. I got the Shotgun Ensembles album and Volume 1 by the Lone Sum. Shotgun Ensemble is just kind of guys who, if they happen to be in a studio, they'll hang out and play some songs and record them, and they're all instrumental, so just kind of cool instrumental rock and roll.
Nice.
And then the Lone Sum is just one of the guys from Def M Records, just kind of doing his own thing. So it's Lone Sum SUM, so it's just the one of him by himself.
Oh.
But yeah, I picked those up this week, and they're good times. So you could do the same.
By you could do the same, do it.
Yeah. Help support our friends.
Yes. Especially during these troubled times.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about some times that are less troubling.
The only times that come to mind are the 90s.
Hey, that's a good time to talk about.
Yeah.
Speaking of birthdays, you were born in the 90s, right?
I was born exactly 25 years ago as of 2 months from now.
Okay, that's some math, but sure.
No, I was born in the year 1995, so dead smack in the middle of the 90s.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Everything I picked today is from before you were born still.
And everything I picked is right around the time I was born or after.
Ah, perfect.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. We had so much fun talking about 80s movies last week. We thought we'd talk about 90s movies this week.
There you go.
I did a little bit more research this week as well, so I can. Yeah. So yeah, do you? Since I started last week, do you want to start this week?
Sure, I will start this week.
Okay.
I thought I'd go ahead and mention at least a couple of honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Just to really quickly throw out there. One of the honorable mentions I'm going to throw out there is the movie Flubber from Disney.
Yeah. Okay.
It was one of those 90s movies starring Robin Williams that I just absolutely loved and enjoyed as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to give it an honorable mention because Robin Williams is one of my favorite actors of all time, and he is dearly missed.
Yeah.
But the other movie that I have as an honorable mention is Armageddon.
The Bruce Willis meteor movie?
Yes.
Okay.
The reason why it's on here is for a couple of reasons. One, because when growing up as a kid, my parents watched this movie a lot.
Okay.
This one, Apollo 13, I a couple of other films that were very kind of like big in the 90s and everything that were kind of like action adventure, slightly thriller type.
Sure.
And Armageddon was one of them. Also growing up, I grew up on 2 albums or soundtracks in my like few years of life before, the year 2000.
Okay.
And those were Shania Twain's Come On Over and the Armageddon movie soundtrack.
I have the Armageddon movie soundtrack, actually.
So does my dad. And plus, I also danced to I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith, which is the kind of like the main song for the movie with my dad at my wedding. So I have to put it as an honorable mention.
Oh, that's true. You did. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Fun fact about that song, that was Aerosmith's first #1 hit ever in their careers.
Which is absolutely blasphemous because they have a lot of really good songs.
I know. Additionally, that song's a cover. They didn't do the original version of it.
I never knew that. What, really?
Yeah. I think it's a country song originally. And
well, shoot.
someone decided that it would be appropriate for Armageddon, I guess. And so Aerosmith covered it because they were kind of at the height of their like resurgence in popularity right then.
Yep.
And yeah, it was their first #1 hit ever.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I was today years old when I learned that. Right now.
Also on that soundtrack, there's that song Starseed by the band Our Lady Peace.
Mm-hmm.
That version of that song is exclusive to that soundtrack.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. It's like 99% the same as the one on their first album. But the end of the song is like the last like 30 seconds. There's like a weird like solo that goes on that isn't on the album version. It's only on the soundtrack. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Which is specifically why I have that soundtrack, because Our Lady Peace was one of my favorite bands for a long time. So
that is really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of 90s stuff.
There you go.
Yeah.
What about you, Andy? Do you have any honorable mentions, or you just got your movies?
Oh man, my honorable mentions list. When I came up with the list of movies to talk about, it was like 15 movies long.
I know, I read it. It was crazy.
Yeah. I worked it down to 5.
Okay.
So my honorable mention list is gigantic. So I'm just going to list them real quick.
Okay.
And not go into necessarily detail about why they're on there. I got to start with Jurassic Park. Like, that movie is fantastic. It ends up in too many conversations that I have with people. And it is one of my favorite movies, but also like I kind of wanted to pick maybe some movies that weren't just like, best movies of the 90s. So
yeah,
that one got the cut.
Okay.
The Crow, starring Brandon Lee. That movie is great, but I rewatched it a couple of years ago, and I realized that it's very 1994. Like, it might be the most 1994 movie, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does sort of date the movie, and it's not quite as timeless as some of the other ones. So
fair enough.
But it's great. Pulp Fiction is fantastic. Clueless is one of my roommate's favorite movies, and she's given me a new appreciation for that. And then we just rewatched Space Jam a couple nights ago, and I didn't want to put that on this list because I know we talked about that like in one of our early episodes when I bought the Blu-ray Steelbook. I
didn't even put it on my list because I'm like, Andy's gonna have Space Jam on his. I'm not even gonna put Space Jam on mine.
Anyways, Space Jam is a lot of fun. It is. We were talking about it last night, and we decided that it's too bad Space Jam isn't a better movie because there are parts of that movie that are better than the rest of the movie, which, I mean, it can be true for any movie, but like there's some parts of Space Jam that are really good movies, and like then the rest of the movie around it isn't. And that's too bad. We especially laughed at the line when Daffy suggested that they call the Toon Squad the Ducks. Bugs' line of, what kind of Mickey Mouse organization would name their team the Ducks?
Because the Mighty Ducks movie came out in the 90s.
Right.
And there was the cartoon.
Right. And the actual Anaheim Ducks, right?
There's that too.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was kind of a, like, man, that's a really brilliant line, because of course Daffy would make that joke. Yep. Why wouldn't Daffy want to name the thing after himself? And of course Bugs is gonna snap back at how dumb of an idea that is, but also, sneak in a dig on something else. Like, it's such a, like, that moment is worth watching the entire movie for.
Oh yeah, no, that's there are so many. I love the Looney Tunes so much that if when we in some point in the future get to like talking about the 2000s movies, I do have a Looney Tunes one on there.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
But I love
Excellent.
Looney Tunes so much. I mean, I bought a Bugs Bunny when I went and toured Warner Brothers Studios earlier this year. So
Oh, excellent.
yeah.
Yeah.
So. All right.
So what's your first actual pick?
My first actual pick. So I had to really think about movies that kind of, in a way, just had like an impact on my life. Kind of like how how you tagged me on this Facebook thing of like post a photo from a movie that impacted you.
Yes.
I kind of thought that way with these 90s movies.
Okay.
And the first one I have, kind of keeping with my honorable mention trend, but it's Mrs. Doubtfire.
That's a fantastic movie.
That is a fantastic movie. It is from 1993. It stars Robin Williams. It stars Sally Fields.
Mm-hmm.
It stars the adorable little girl whose name's escaping me at this moment, who will later go on to play Matilda.
Wilson.
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Yep.
I had it written down somewhere and I couldn't find the note, and it made me mad.
And Matthew Lawrence plays the son, or the middle boy, and what is the older daughter? Okay, brain farted. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't remember your name.
And then, God, who plays her boyfriend in the movie?
Pierce Brosnan.
Thank you. I was like, I know his name. I know he's played a lot of really big characters in just film in general. Who is he?
Yeah.
I just had this brain fart. But I grew up loving this film. It's absolutely wacky. It's so hysterical. It's so wholesome and heartwarming and amazing. That oddly enough, over spring break, before all this shutdown stuff happened, my husband and I were in San Francisco, and we did this movie tour. Where you can actually see all of the sites and locations that were filmed, whether they were filmed in San Francisco or filmed based off of locations in San Francisco. And oddly enough, I don't know if you knew this, Andy, or if anyone else out there knew this, but when Sally Fields' character is on the phone with Mrs. Doubtfire, with Robin Williams, and she's like, okay, here's the address for you to come to, and she gives the address. That is the actual address to the house.
Huh.
Like, we pulled up to the actual Doubtfire, like to the actual house from the movie, and it looks exactly like it.
Huh. That's
nothing's changed. Maybe like a few paint jobs, but that's about it.
Yeah. I looked it up. It was Lisa Jacob that played Lydia, the older sister.
Okay.
So I didn't want to name the other two kids and leave her out.
Exactly. So, but it was it's a wholesome movie. I loved it growing up as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because Mrs. Doubtfire kind of reminded me of my great aunt who took care of me as a kid. She's still around. She's still alive.
Yeah.
But getting up there in age. But but it very much reminded me of those things, and I'm just like, this is a all around wholesome movie. Plus, Robin Williams in drag with his brother and his husband. Really breaking some boundaries in just film and media in the 90s is great.
Yeah. I went and saw that movie in theaters, I want to say with my cousin. And we were both kind of like, and we were like 10 when it came out, and we were like, yeah, we could go see it, whatever. Like, it was the one thing that was playing that like his parents would take us to, that, they kind of wanted to see. And we were like, yeah, we could take it or leave it. And we ended up really enjoying it. And then my mom bought it on video, and it was part of our regular rotation of movies to watch when we were at her place over the weekends. So, yeah, good pick, good choice.
Thank you. Thank you. What about you?
So let's see. Let's start with another one of those movies that ended up on our random rotations. I'm going to go with a movie that no one expected: Three Ninjas. Three Ninjas was a 1992 movie. It's a kids movie. It is absolutely. It was riding the wave of Ninja Turtles. It's about three brothers who get trained in ninjutsu by their Japanese grandfather over the summer instead of going to summer camp, and one year they come back from spending the summer with grandpa, and their dad's on a case because he's a FBI agent, and he's hunting down the head of a criminal empire, and this particular head of this particular criminal empire used to be business associates with the kid's grandfather. So and so the kids are like, well, we don't know who to trust now because we love our grandpa and he taught us all this ninja stuff, but like, also, is he friends with the bad guy? Like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. And hijinks ensue. the cover of the movie, one of the quotes is "crosses Home Alone with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles," which is a pretty accurate description for a good chunk of that movie.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like, listen, if you're an adult and you're like, oh, Andy recommended Three Ninjas, and then you watch, you're like, what is this piece of crap? Like, yeah, it's not, it's a nostalgia trip for me. But if you have kids, especially kids who take martial arts, it's a fun adventure movie for them.
Mm-hmm.
There is a separate international version of the movie, which is a slightly different cut, where it actually ends with one of the the Three Ninjas main characters, like actually beating up one of the bullies.
Wow.
That got cut from the U.S. release. So yeah, it's mostly the same movie, but there's a couple of little things where it's like, oh, I've seen this movie enough to know that this is a different scene, and they didn't lose the basketball game originally. And wait, what happened? Like, what? And yeah, I looked into it. It turns out, like, there's just an international version that's slightly different.
Okay.
Yeah, it was directed. So Three Ninjas was also directed by John Turteltaub, who went on to later direct Cool Runnings.
Oh, wow.
And Phenomenon with John Travolta, and the National Treasure movies. So,
oh my God, what?
Yeah.
Yes, I literally just watched National Treasure like the other day.
Yeah. So, it's got a pretty good pedigree there. Yeah. So it's I also wrote down it was made on a budget of $6.5 million and grossed $29 million in the theater. So,
damn.
Box office success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. For sure.
So, yeah, Three Ninjas, good times. I don't
There
think
you
it's
go.
streaming anywhere right now. Although I did find a copy that probably shouldn't have been on YouTube recently. So,
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. All right. Give me your number 2, Steph.
All right. So next on my list, so I to no one's surprise, I do have a lot of animated movies listed for the 90s because I was,
because you were a little
toddler.
Yeah.
So a lot of the movies that impacted me and that I loved watching as a kid were mostly animated. Any of the live action ones I came back later to.
Sure.
But the next one I have on my list actually came out the same year I was born, and it is the Goofy movie.
Oh, that's a great movie too.
I know it is. So this is such a good movie. And if any of you have never seen this movie, first of all, what's wrong with you? Second of all, go watch it. It's on Disney Plus. No, so long story short, this movie is about Max, Goofy's son, who just finished, like, I want to say maybe his like 8th grade year or freshman year of high school or something. Like, he's in school. Yeah. He just finished it.
Yeah.
And he finishes it on a note where the principal threatens, that he's going to end up in the electric chair one day. As a kid, that means nothing to me. As an adult, I'm like, that's a little drastic.
Yeah, that principal was voiced by Wallace Shawn as well, who's Vanzini in The Princess Bride and Rex in Toy Story.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. But then so Goofy takes him on this cross-country journey to go to Lake, not Lake Pleasant, Lake Destiny. And
right. Yep.
And just throughout the whole journey, there's all these antics and all these like a really good musical numbers that just exist in the world.
Yeah.
And as a kid, it's just so much fun because in a weird way, you either relate with Max in the sense of like you don't like going family road trips until you kind of start doing a little bit of like what the kids want to do and what the parents want to do.
Right.
But then when you get older and you kind of understand Goofy's point of view of like, okay, yeah, I get this.
Yeah.
I get why I wouldn't entirely trust everything Pete says.
Yeah. Right.
So, but no, it's such a great movie, and plus, Powerline is the best fictional pop star ever.
Oh boy, yeah, he's right up there for sure. Yeah. It might be a little more. Well, okay, so I will say solo pop stars. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Fictional bands. I might need to give that to Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem.
Okay, no, that's a good one. Yeah.
But for solo artists, yeah, I'll give it to Powerline. I have a Powerline tour shirt actually.
I've seen that. They sell it at Hot Topic, and I want one too.
Yeah, good times.
So, yeah, Goofy movie.
Yeah.
I also like the Extremely Goofy movie, but oddly enough, I looked it up, and it came out in the year 2000, so it's not a 90s movie.
Man, I remember when an
So.
extremely goofy movie came out, and I watched it, and I will say it is fun, but I definitely think the first one is a better movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love them both equally and for different reasons at the same time.
That's
So,
fair. That's
yeah.
fair. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Your next one?
Well, let's see. Let's go with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I thought this would have been your number one.
No, it's up there, but
Okay.
it is not my number one. Although the turtles are amongst my favorite pop culture things, and that is again why this movie is on my list. 1990 movie, based on the comic books and cartoons and etc. But the thing that is great about the Ninja Turtles movie is so Roger Ebert said in his review of this movie that it might be the best movie titled Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that you could make. And 6 movies later, that's still true.
Wow.
This is still the best Turtles movie.
There you go.
Yeah. It so budget of $13.5 million, and it grossed $202 million.
Wow.
It had a budget of 13.5 and it grossed 202.
That's I can't even do the math. That's a lot.
that's a that's a lot.
A lot.
It was the highest grossing independent movie to date. And it was only overtaken. It was overtaken 4 years later by Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So it held that record for like 4.5 years of being the highest grossing independent film of all time, which is crazy.
That's completely fair.
It's especially crazy when you consider that like Nickelodeon, Disney, Warner Brothers, like MGM, like every major studio turned it down because they were like, we just saw Masters of the Universe tank. We just saw the Transformers and G.I. Joe movies tank and everything. Like all these kids movies that are getting released in theaters are not doing well. We don't want to take the risk on this.
Yeah.
So a little tiny company called New Line Cinema that did like B movies and like crappy martial arts films, like they took a chance on it. They were like, yeah, we'll release it. Sure.
Yeah.
And it ended up making the studio. Like New Line Cinema didn't matter before that. And afterwards, like they became a huge studio for a long time until they were eventually purchased by Warner Brothers.
Dang.
Yeah. The Turtles themselves were built by Jim Henson's Creature Shop. So they are completely practical effects. And Jim Henson himself said that they were the most high-tech, most advanced puppet things that he had ever worked on.
That's valid.
Yeah. Because they are, effectively dudes in foam rubber suits, but the heads of the turtles are remote control operated.
Yeah.
So like there's someone flapping their hand open and shut and making subtle movements so that the turtles will talk in time with the dialogue. There are independent controls for each eyeball of the turtles. Like they're crazy advanced, and you kind of don't notice it when you're watching the movie. And like the lip sync isn't the best. My roommates and I watched the movie earlier this week, and I was looking for some technical stuff, and I was like, okay, it was 1990 when this came out, which means it was being built, like all the things were being built in 89. But all things considered, like if someone came up to me and they said, hey, I've never seen or read or anything any Ninja Turtles, where do I start? I would hand them this movie and be like, check out the first Ninja Turtles movie. It combines a lot of elements of the original Mirage comics and the personalities that the characters developed in the cartoon series, as well as like their individual color masks, because that was not a thing in the comics because they were just black and white. Like it's a good mashup of the two things. And I would then say, okay, now that you've watched this, what parts did you like? Or first of all, do you want to keep going? And if you do, what parts did you like? What parts didn't you like? And then kind of direct them down, okay, cool, you might want to check out the comics, or, oh, you should probably check out the cartoon, or, oh, you should maybe check out this other cartoon, or just watch the other movie, Yeah. One of the things I really like about this movie is it has subplots.
Oh, nice.
Right? Like, it would be really easy to be like, hey, it's a Ninja Turtles movie, and here's the Turtles, and they got to fight the Shredder and the Foot Clan, and go.
The end.
Right. And that's basically what the second and third movies did, although the third movie had different villains. This one, like, there's a cool subplot where April O'Neil, their reporter friend, her boss's kid is part of the Foot Clan.
Oh, wow.
So, like, and he gets arrested halfway through the movie. So, well, I guess before halfway. So, like, the chief of police, who April has been hounding about, hey, what are you going to do about this crime wave and the ninjas that are attacking everything? He calls April's boss and is like, I have your son. I'll let him go. But and this isn't like, this is all subtext, which is also great because it teaches kids about subtext. Like, this isn't said out loud, but basically it's implied that the Chief Stearns will let Danny go if his dad tells April to back off.
Wow.
Yeah. Which, like, not a thing you would expect in a kids movie.
Not really, no.
And also something I didn't catch, I don't know, probably the first 100 times I watched the movie. I was just like, oh, it's the Turtles, and they're eating pizza and telling jokes. Play. And then, like, when I came back to it years later, I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's, like, an actual movie here. So,
Wait,
again,
a story?
Yeah, right? So, again, it's not the greatest movie in the world. It is a nostalgia thing for me, for sure. But if you're gonna check out Turtles in any capacity, like, this is, it's like an 87-minute movie, so it's not gonna, and it's here's kind of your basic introduction, and then from there check out the other stuff.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Yeah.
So, awesome.
So good times.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got next?
So my next one, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, is The Phantom Menace.
Part of me was wondering, is she gonna put The Phantom Menace, or is she gonna put the Star Wars special editions on her favorite movies of the 90s?
I put The Phantom Menace.
Okay.
Even though, okay, so to be fair, I saw the Star Wars special editions, which I do own on VHS.
Sure.
Before I ever saw Phantom Menace.
Right.
I know that's strange, but also this was actually after The Phantom Menace and Episode 2 were already out. So, but the reason why I put The Phantom Menace on there is because, for one, it is the one Star Wars film that I think still receives more crap than even Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
It is also the one where a lot of people definitely diss on Jar Jar.
Yeah.
And it, oddly enough, is... So, I will say this right now. There is nothing in Star Wars media that I actually hate or despise.
Okay.
Maybe the holiday special, but everyone understands why for that one.
Yeah, but at least the Boba Fett cartoon in that is pretty cool.
That is true.
And that's coming from me.
Yeah.
I don't like I'm impartial towards Star Wars, and I don't really care about Boba Fett, but that cartoon's cool.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, no, if I actually put all of my Star Wars movies in order from my absolute favorite, which is Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, even more so now, especially since the Clone Wars ended on Monday.
Oh yeah.
I am emotionally still not okay, by the way, from that. Every time I see something, I'm like sobbing. I'm like, it was probably one of the best TV series endings of all time. Just saying. At least TV animated doesn't matter. Sure. But anyway. But if I put them all on a list, Episode 1, it is sitting in the last position, but that doesn't mean I hate it. It doesn't mean I dislike it. It's just, I like the other ones a lot more.
Sure.
But but I absolutely love watching The Phantom Menace. Jar Jar makes me laugh. He's a very funny character. His comic relief stuff is the whole point of him, and I thoroughly enjoy that. Plus, we get, young Obi-Wan Kenobi in the form of Ewan McGregor, and we get Liam Neeson playing Qui-Gon Jinn, and it's an overarching, really great movie in just in the main sense that it's very entertaining. It's very, I don't want to say kid friendly in the sense that it's, just for kids, but it has a little bit of something for everyone, for kids, for adults, for teens, things like that.
Yeah.
Plus, as I got older and I would go back and rewatch it, I watch it from a bit of a different point of view. Yes, quoting Obi-Wan here. I watch it from the point of view of, imagine being in like Darth Sidious or Palpatine's chair, during this whole movie and watching everything go, yes, good, excellent, my plans are all working. And then slowly, one by one, the dominoes get knocked over, and he's like, wait, what is happening? No, wait, who's this kid? Where's this happening? Ah, and like, freaking out and realizing that his plan is just all falling apart. And then decides to, change it after Maul dies dies, quote unquote. And then, brings Anakin into all of this. But I think it's a great film. I thoroughly enjoy episode 1. I will always watch it if it's on. Hell, I watched it on the way back from Ireland last year.
Yeah.
I even fell asleep during it, and I still knew exactly what was happening when I was asleep. It was fantastic.
So,
also, I love Darth Maul.
Well, and he's the best part of that movie for sure.
Yes.
I will say I don't hate the Phantom Menace. Like I don't think it deserves a lot of the crap that it gets. I do think that there are a couple of points where Jar Jar has a line that he just doesn't need. Like I don't think it adds anything to the movie. I think it's distracting.
Yes.
But not all of his lines.
Yeah.
I do question some of the let's say dialect choices. Some of the choices of accents, did they need to speak with that accent? But okay, that was a decision that was made and may or may not have been the best choice. But okay, not everyone's perfect. Not every, but like overall, yeah, it's a fun, family friendly adventure movie.
Yeah.
The thing about that movie for a lot of people is that they grew up on 3 Star Wars movies, right?
Yes.
And there were just the 3 between 77 and 83, and then that was it for 16 years.
Yeah.
So like when you see those 3 movies over and over and over again, especially when you imprint on them as a kid,
yep,
you come up with something where it's like it's a new Star Wars movie, and if it's not exactly those 3 things, like you're gonna have a problem getting over it.
Yeah.
And I know this because I grew up with, a handful of things that, the Transformers and Ninja Turtles specifically were like, yeah, I loved these things. And then they made new versions of them that weren't exactly like the things that I grew up with. And I had to deal with it. Like I had to get over it and be like, okay, is Ninja Turtles The Next Mutation objectively good? No, not at all. But the 2003 cartoon, pretty great.
Yeah.
The 2007 CGI movie, it's not bad. Not my favorite, but it's pretty good. Is Transformers Beast Wars the original series? No. It's probably better. The first half of the first season is a little rough to get through while they're still figuring out how to make the show. But by the time that show ends, it was really solid.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Transformers live action movies, I don't like them.
There you go.
But then Bumblebee was pretty good.
Exactly.
So, any time there's more stuff added to a franchise that you love,
yes,
you gotta be like, okay, what was the thing that made you like it in the first place? And if it was specifically those stories, that's legit.
Yeah.
But if it was like, I liked this world and the way that it made me feel when I first saw it, and then you go back to watch something later, but it's aimed at the same demographic that you were when you first saw it, like, guess what? This movie isn't necessarily for you anymore. So you just kind of gotta roll with that.
Yeah. And to be fair with me, I mean, I didn't know the Phantom Menace existed in '99. I wasn't introduced until like almost episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
And, when I watched all the movies and everything, I mean, I grew up technically during the era of the prequel fan base. Mm-hmm. So I love the prequels. The prequels are my favorite, but I grew up on the Clone Wars.
Oh,
because those were coming out as I was a Star Wars fan by that point.
Right. Yeah.
So I grew up on the Clone Wars, which is very fitting after 12 years of the series existing.
Yeah.
And for me, like I said, I love The Phantom Menace. It's a great movie, and I thoroughly enjoy it. And plus, it delivers probably one of my favorite Obi-Wan lines of all time, which is, if they find us, they will crush us, grind us into tiny pieces, and blast us into oblivion. One of my favorite Obi-Wan lines. I laugh at it every time.
Oh.
So, all right, moving on. What's yours?
Moving on. So let's move on to Clerks.
Ooh.
So Clerks is a 1994 independent black and white film. It was the debut film of one Kevin Smith, who eventually built a media empire off of characters introduced in this movie.
Yep.
Clerks was shot for a budget of $27,575. It grossed $3 million and never played on more than 50 screens at the same time.
I hope you know my jaw is on the floor right now.
Yeah. It was made for less than $30,000 and it grossed $3 million.
That's a lot.
Yeah. In 2006 there was the sequel, Clerks 2, and in 2000 or like 99 or 2000 or whatever, there was like an animated series that only lasted 6 episodes before the network it was on canned it, but there is a Clerks cartoon that you can just buy on DVD, and it's pretty funny. Yeah. So Clerks is I was born in the early 80s, so I'm in that weird, I'm not quite Generation X and I'm not quite a millennial group, right?
Yeah.
So there are some things in Clerks that I can very much not understand because I have the millennial optimism.
Yep.
But there's a lot of it, and very much a lot of the where is my place in the world angst that movie encompasses that I very much relate to.
Yeah.
I was actually introduced to the movie a few years after it came out, when I was working at Blockbuster Video, and I said to my boss, and I'd been there a few months, and I said to my boss, like, man, someone should make a movie about like the worst day at a video store where just everything goes wrong. He was like, yeah, that movie exists. It's called Clerks. And I was like, wait, what? Oh, okay. So I rented it that night, and I was like, oh, yeah. This was much better than my idea. Okay.
Yep.
Clerks is also the introduction of Jay and Silent Bob,
yep.
who are still making movies today, or who Kevin Smith is still making movies today, because the Jay and Silent Bob reboot like just came out. It is for a 20-something in the 90s, early aughts. It is very much the where is my place in the world story.
Yeah.
Dante is he feels like he's stuck in his job as being a convenience store clerk, and he doesn't know how to make his life better because this is where life has brought him. And if life wanted him to be somewhere else, it would have brought him somewhere else. And the movie is kind of everyone saying like, no, dude, like you don't have to be stuck here.
Yeah.
Like you're here because you're choosing to be. And even Randall, the guy that runs the video store, who's his best friend, he's straight up like, I'm at this job because it's easy and it's fun and I don't have to worry about anything. Like I don't want the extra stresses. You want to have a bigger, better life, so go have it.
Yeah.
And just kind of that weird struggle that you can have in your early 20s about like what where do I go? What am I supposed to do? Where is this?
Yeah.
Is this forever?
Yeah.
And the movie ends on a high note with things got kind of weird and gross, and it is kind of the worst day in a convenience / video store. But it ends with a feeling that like, no, life goes on, things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
Which is good, because in the original ending, Dante totally gets shot and killed. Which goes
that
again.
got dark fast.
Yeah. It's really weird because it kills the entire point of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, no pun intended. When I saw that on a deleted scene on a DVD, I was like, oh boy, that changes the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Dang.
So Clerks is a lot of fun. It is very rated R.
Yes.
Like there is a lot of adult language in there. Do not let your kids under the age of teenager watch it, and even then, probably older teenager.
Yeah.
Though these days, with all the kids being on the internet, they probably know what all those words mean, anyways. Yeah. I not a thing that I would show to a younger cousin or whatever.
No.
And honestly, not something that I think you would understand until you have your first kind of crappy dead-end retail job. Yeah.
I have had it. I can watch it.
Yeah. It's something that I don't think you get until you have those soul-crushing, just grinding days.
Yep.
So, yeah. But yeah, Clerks is a lot of fun. Well, it's not, but there's
It's
a lot
a
of
good
great
movie.
moments in the movie. It is a very well-made movie, and it just got inducted to some big muckety muck like film thing. That's
Oh,
the word. I'm the worst at
like
this.
like the Independent Film Hall of Fame or something?
Like the Film Hall of Fame.
Oh,
What is it? The National Film Registry of the Library of Congress, who deemed it culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant.
dang.
Yeah.
Good job.
It's
That's
one of
awesome.
not the most profitable, but one of the most successful, like truly independent movie. Like Ninja Turtles was an independent movie, but it was based on Ninja Turtles. It was gonna be successful.
Yep.
Clerks was a bunch of friends making a movie.
Yep.
In the job they like in the convenience store and video store that they worked at.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
considering it was shot for $27,000, that feels high to me, honestly.
Mhm.
So yeah, but it is a good crash course on how to make an independent movie on no money.
It really is.
Yeah.
As someone who took an independent film class in college, yes.
Yeah.
So.
We are.
How much time we got left?
We have like 12 minutes left.
Are you kidding?
So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we gotta start flying through the last few here.
All right. I'm gonna fly through my next few, and then leave my last one. Let you do one, and then.
Cool.
Yeah. So the next ones I have. The next one I have is Toy Story 2. Not 1, 2.
Right.
I loved the original Toy Story. It came out the same year I was born. Actually, I think 1 month after. But Toy Story 2 was the first film I ever saw in theaters.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a big deal for me because, that was the first film I ever saw in theaters. At the same time, I just love the story and the aesthetic and just the way everything flows in the second movie so much more. And that includes even over 3 and 4 that have come out now.
Okay.
But I absolutely love Toy Story 2. Plus the action sequence at the beginning with Buzz is great.
Yeah.
And they also have an Empire Strikes Back reference that I did not catch until after I saw Empire.
That's awesome.
So, go ahead.
Oh, fun. Hey, let's fly through these. Now I'm going to take a minute to tell a personal story. Toy Story 2 came out on my brother's birthday. The first, when I was working at Blockbuster.
Yeah.
But like I was scheduled off on that day. So like because new movies came out on Tuesdays, right? And so I was scheduled Monday and Wednesday, and my brother's birthday was on the Tuesday. And so like I had to convince my boss, like, hey, can you let me take a copy of this home so I can give it to my brother for his birthday? And then I'll come back. I'll pay for it tonight, or I'll pay for it Wednesday, like whatever works.
Yeah.
And like I hounded him like all day, and it wasn't until like right as I was going to go out the door that he was like, yeah, okay, that's it, fine, just go ahead and do it. So yeah, I actually got my brother a copy of Toy Story 2. I gave it to him Monday night, so he got it a day early for his birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, on VHS because it was 2000. But yeah.
Great, love it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, Toy Story 2 might be the most. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It might be the most fun of the Toy Story movies.
Yes.
Because the first one is very much like a like Woody's existential crisis.
Yeah.
The third one is everything is terrible and we're all gonna die, and the fourth one is
finding your place in the world.
It's very bittersweet.
Yeah.
But 2 is just a lot of fun.
2 is just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's also the one Toy Story movie. I mean, not saying the Toy Story 1 made me cry, but it definitely has those kind of like you missed your childhood type of feelings to it. 3 and 4 definitely made me cry. But that's because I was older and I totally understood Andy's place in the world.
Sure.
But yeah, no, 2 was just a lot of fun, and it's the one that's made me laugh the most. So the other one I had that I was going to quickly throw out before my last one is Anastasia.
Oh yeah.
The 1997 Fox 20th Century Fox animated movie. Yeah. So this was in the height of like the Disney Renaissance. Disney was owning the animated market.
Yep.
And Fox Fox had been throwing in a couple of really good hidden gem animated films, and then they threw in this one.
Yeah.
And
everyone still thinks it's made by Disney.
Yeah, and now it's owned by Disney.
Oh, I guess that's true.
Because the Fox Disney merger. But yeah, no, I mean, like they thought it was made by Disney because it had a similar feel and flow to it. But Anastasia is so much different than any of the other films. It's probably the one princess film that is the most historically accurate.
I mean, except for some stuff with Rasputin, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you have to, play it up for the kids, right?
Sure.
But I'm saying in some of the ways they tell the story about how, they thought she died, but turns out she was alive, and, all that stuff, there is definitely a lot more truth in the history in this movie than there is in other, like, films based off of history, like,
Pocahontas, for example.
Exactly, which is also one of my favorites, but I don't have it listed,
Sure.
so.
Yeah.
But no, I absolutely love Anastasia. It is like I totally relate with Anya in so many ways. Like I get her to a T. I think I actually kind of grew up being sassy like her in some way.
Sure. Yeah.
And it has some of my favorite musical numbers of all time.
Okay.
I actually auditioned for a thing in junior high with the song Once Upon a December. And I almost was allowed to perform it if it wasn't for copyright issues. Which really sucked, which made me feel good that I really nailed the song, but it made me feel horrible that I couldn't perform it because of copyright. So
yeah,
it was that.
Yeah.
But,
so fun trivia about Anastasia. It was basically made here in Phoenix.
Yep.
Yeah. Fox's animation studio was in Phoenix, Arizona, and so other than the parts that were shipped out overseas for animating, like it basically came to life here, which is kind of neat.
Yes.
I don't think I've seen it since it was pretty new, but I was taking a 3D animation class, and our teacher was like, "We're watching Anastasia because it just came out on video and it was made here, so deal with it."
Yep. Also, Bartok the Bat is the best. And I kick her, sir.
It's been a while since I've seen it, so I will refrain from comment on that. But
there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on.
I got two left.
Okay.
Next one is Wayne's World.
No surprise there.
Based on the Saturday Night Live skits. Had a budget of $20 million and grossed $183.1 million. So that's 9 times its budget.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So Wayne's World was a movie that, like, all of my friends went to see in theaters, even though it was rated R. Maybe it was PG-13. I don't remember. I did not see it in theaters, but I did rent it on video when it came out, and I basically watched it nonstop that whole weekend.
Yep.
Like, I watched it Friday night, I woke up Saturday morning and played it again, and then rewound it, and then watched it again, and then rewound it and watched it again, like, basically all weekend.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. It was directed by Penelope Spheris, who had just finished doing The Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, which was a documentary about the heavy metal scene in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, she was kind of perfect for, hey, you just did a documentary about, like, what metalhead kids are like in real life. Why don't you direct this movie?
Yeah.
She went on to direct a couple of other pretty big 90s movies, and I'm blanking on them. Black Sheep with Chris Farley and David Spade.
Okay.
The Little Rascals.
Oh, wow.
And the Beverly Hillbillies movie. So yeah. So she did pretty well for herself.
Yeah.
Man, Wayne. I mean, listen. I feel like pop culture says that you should know who what Wayne's World is, but I went as Wayne for Halloween one year.
And no one knew who you were?
No, everyone knew who I was because I was going with a bunch of people. Like, I was going to a party that was a bunch of people my age.
Oh,
so
okay.
they all knew. But one day I wore that Wayne's World hat to the grocery store, and the much younger guy at the register, like, asked if it was a Little Wayne hat.
Oh.
And then the bagger told him he was an idiot and, like, went on to school him about Michael Myers and Saturday Night Live and stuff. So, like, Mike Myers, excuse me. Michael Myers is a serial killer. Mike Myers is the actor. Also, I'm pretty sure that this movie is where the phrase "that's what she said" came from.
I think it is, actually.
Because I know it was, like, repopularized on The Office, but, like, the first time I remember hearing it was in Wayne's World, and I don't know that it was in any movies before that. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Please contact us at Atomic Monsoon on Twitter or Facebook, or Atomic_Monsoon on Instagram, or email us at atomicmonsoon@gmail.com. The other big thing I want to mention about Wayne's World, we're gonna go over time again. Is it repopularized Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yes, that is.
Bohemian Rhapsody kind of just didn't matter
Mhm.
anymore. And there's the scene where they're singing it in the car.
Yep.
And the next month, it was the number one for the next month. It was the most requested song in the country.
Yep.
On radio stations. Like that song became a huge hit because of Wayne's World, something like 20 years after it had come out.
Yep.
So yeah, good job, guys.
Every time I hear it in the car, I do the exact same thing they do. As long as I'm not driving, when the guitar kicks in, I do the same thing with the hair.
Oh yeah. Oh, we all headbang when that.
We all do.
You have to.
You have to. It's just tradition. So
yeah.
All
right, guys. Hey, listen. If you're listening to us on our broadcast on Sunday on Voice America, or if you're listening to us Saturday afternoon on our rebroadcast, go download our episode because we're out of time and we still have more stuff to talk about.
Indeed.
Yep.
So.
All right, Seb. I have one more. Do you want to do your last one first, or?
Sure, I can do mine.
Cool.
All right. So my last one is hands down my favorite, just Disney film of all time. You name it, I love it.
Okay.
But the issue I had is I couldn't choose between it or its sequel.
Huh.
It is Lion King and Lion King 2: Simba's Pride.
Aha.
So the story with these movies for me growing up as a kid was that obviously Lion King came out the year before I did, before I was born. Wow, that was funny.
I was on board.
Yep. And the thing with it though is that originally Disney always has their A movie and their B movie idea. Their A movie idea was supposed to be Pocahontas coming out in 95, and their B movie was going to be Lion King in 94.
Well, that didn't work out for them.
It went the other way around at the box office because the Lion King ended up becoming their highest grossing movies of just I think all time until Frozen in 2012.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. No, everyone loved the Lion King, and I absolutely love it too. I say I know Star Wars really well. Like I can sit here and quote the first 30 minutes of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, if I wanted to. But I can quote the entirety of The Lion King.
Man,
down to the music.
Yeah. Other than the lyrics in African during Circle of Life, I might be able to quote that entire movie as well, actually.
Yeah. I mean, heck, and I mean, I've mentioned before that I write fan fiction and stories like that. I wrote a Star Wars version of The Lion King where I put Star Wars characters in place of these characters, and it was great. What's funny though is that when I was writing that, it was when I was in high school taking Spanish, and we watched The Lion King in Spanish, and she did not put subtitles up for us. We had to just watch it in Spanish. She put up Spanish subtitles, not English.
Right.
But I had the entire script in my backpack because I printed it off so I could write my story and make sure I had the dialogue right.
That's fantastic.
So I just opened up the folder and I was just reading along. I didn't have the same teacher later that school year, but
the thing you just said about it being the highest grossing film, a Disney movie or whatever, doesn't surprise me because it got re-released a couple times.
It did. I remember going to see it in IMAX at one point with my dad.
Oh no, it got re-released, it was in theaters, it finished its run, and Disney was like, F it, and put it out again. 6 months later.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, they were like, it made a bunch of money. Let's make some more.
I was talking in the sense that since 1994, it has also been re-released numerous times. Just in general, they had a 10-year anniversary at one point in the middle of the 2000s, and that's where I saw it in IMAX. They had a sing-along version that came out when I was in junior high that we saw, and it was just it's been re-released a lot.
Yeah, I saw it in 3D. They did a 3D re-release.
Yep, I saw that one too.
A while ago. Let's see. Yeah, so it got released in July of. Oh no, that was the more recent one.
Yeah.
Let's see. When did this come out? June of 1994.
Yep.
And then they re-released it at Christmas time that year.
Wow. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So it made a lot of money. It made a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I positively loved The Lion King growing up as a kid. I even had a VHS tape of back when the way to record anything off TV was to put a tape
Yep.
into your VCR and record it.
Yep.
And I had one where where it was The Wonderful World of Disney, and it was The Lion King, a little break in the middle, and then Pocahontas.
Fantastic.
And I still own that tape today, and it still works, and it's
Nice.
great. But yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. But the reason why I put the second movie in there, The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, is because it is the one. Everyone knows Lion King 1.5. Everyone knows that one. Everyone knows the Timon and Pumbaa show. But there's all these people that seem to forget that there was actually a sequel to the movies that was kind of loosely based off of Romeo and Juliet, as the first one was loosely based off of Hamlet. And I positively adored and loved Lion King 2. It actually has my favorite Disney song ever, and that is We Are One.
Okay.
So it's an overarching great film.
I've never seen Lion King 2. I did see 1.5, and I did really enjoy that. And I never got around to 2, but it
is on Disney Plus.
It is. I will say that everyone I talked to who was born in the 90s who loves Lion King also loves the second one.
Yep.
I have not heard of anyone that grew up watching the second one that said that it's not good. So.
Oh yeah, no, it is before Frozen 2 and before like a lot of the other sequels we got. It is probably the best straight to video Disney sequel.
Okay,
like, hands down.
I mean, of the ones I've seen, I would say it's still Return of Jafar. But again, I haven't seen Lion King 2. So
Return of the Jafar is like a close second, at least in my book.
Okay.
So.
Okay. All right. So my last one is in fact also my favorite movie of all time, Terminator 2: Judgment Day.
Oh, I forgot about that for you.
Yep,
that makes more sense.
Yep. Yeah. Somehow I ended up owning 9 copies of this movie because people think it's funny to keep buying it for me for birthdays and Christmas and stuff.
Yep.
So yeah. It was the first movie I ever bought on Laserdisc. I bought it because it was $4, and I thought it was funny to own my favorite movie on Laserdisc. And then, like a year later, I found a Laserdisc player for $2, and I was like, "Well, even if it doesn't work, all right, I'll buy the Laserdisc player." And then it did, so I can watch my favorite movie on outdated technology.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and then people kept buying me Laserdiscs. So Terminator 2 is interesting because James Cameron, the director of it, had the idea to make it the previous July, like over July 4th weekend.
Yeah.
And it got released July 4th weekend, 1991. So the movie from concept to completion happened in less than 12 months.
Wow.
Which is insane.
That is very hard to do.
Yeah, most movies take at least 2 years to make. And they did it in less than 11 months. So yeah. The budget was somewhere between $94 and $102 million, depending on where you ask. And it grossed $520.8 million at the box office.
Wow.
So 5 times its production budget. Again, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Terminator 2 is probably the best sequel of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like you just don't even need the first movie anymore with Terminator 2. And we're I don't want to go too over time. The thing I love about the movie, in addition to all of the action and the cool sci-fi stuff that obviously I'm gonna like, I really enjoy the value on human life that the movie posits.
Yeah.
But my 2 favorite lines from the movie, one happens early on and the other is actually the last line in the movie, so I'm gonna spoil it.
Okay.
But this movie's also 29 years old, so deal with it. So early on, John Connor, who's played by Edward Furlong in his first role, asks the Terminator, "Haven't you figured out why you can't just go around killing people yet?" Right? And it's never actually explained why you can't just go around killing people, and the Terminator doesn't understand, and John doesn't explain it. But you can't just go around killing people. You can't.
Yeah.
And then the last line in the movie is Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor doing a voiceover as they drive on the road into the unknown future.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "If a machine, a Terminator, can learn the value of human life, maybe we can too." And yeah, I really appreciate that.
That's deep right there.
Yeah, and this movie's from 1991, and a lot of people still haven't. So that's sad, but also kind of reassuring that sometimes there are just going to be dumb people in the world.
Yep.
Just a couple quick things before I finish with this. Nikki Cox, who was a kind of a big actress in the later 90s and early 2000s, she has a very quick cameo in this movie as the girl who tells the T-1000 Terminator that they went to the Galleria. And then John Connor's best friend, who I don't think is named in the movie, is played by Danny Cooksey, who's best known probably as in live action as Bobby Budnick from Salute Your Shorts. But as a voice actor is probably best known as either Montana Max on Tiny Toon Adventures or as Zuko on Avatar The Last Airbender.
Yes!
Yeah. And then because Terminator 2 came out in 1991, Wayne's World came out the following year, there is a very brief cameo of the T-1000 in Wayne's World.
That's fantastic.
Which makes me believe that those movies take place in the same universe. And you know, not that shared universes were really a thing. Also, I'm pretty sure they're from different studios. But, you know, kind of just a fun, like, hey, if we're in this world wherever, like, all the studios are trying to connect to movies, I'm going to make those connections where I can.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Just a brief little thing. Oddly enough, I actually checked out the Terminator experience at Universal back in 2011. Which
I still have to do that.
Which, it was based on Terminator 2.
Yes.
I don't think it's there anymore. I think they actually tore it down and replaced it with something
fair.
else.
I had like 25 years to check it out. So
yeah, I will tell you, Andy, it was a really super cool 4D experience.
That's great.
With fire and water and everything, and it made me actually want to go and watch the Terminator movies afterward.
Excellent.
Which I cannot say for many rides or experiences anywhere else. But
yeah. I like I said, I never went to that, but I know at the end they end up fighting the T-1 million.
Yes.
Which is, you know, kind of a silly extrapolation because they fight the T-1000 in T2. But yeah, I don't know. It's still my favorite movie of all time, and while some of the special effects are a little dated, most of them still hold up really well. Which is, you know, surprising considering the movie's 30 years old and, you know, it came out at the beginning of CGI in movies. So, yeah. And, you know, Judgment Day has come and passed, so we never had to go to the war with the machines, although 2027 is coming up here in just a few years. So, we'll see if the future war happens.
Yeah.
Anyways, we are over time. And sorry for those of you who had to come back and download this episode later. But you should download our show anyways, because we do this pretty frequently.
Yes.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Find us on the social medias. Visit our friends at Def M Records.
Yes.
And
have a happy Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Tell us what your favorite 90s movie is on social media. And I just love happy endings. Love, not like, love.
Hasta la vista, babies.